Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 9th chapter. O God of my fathers. So, the 8th chapter left off, Solomon sort of left us on this little cliffhanger, right, as he began to expound on his desire for wisdom, and then he realized, wait a minute, I can't get wisdom except the Lord gives me wisdom. So he says, then he went to beseech the Lord, and he said to the Lord, and that leads us into chapter 9. O God of my fathers, and Lord of mercy, who has made all things with thy word, right? And that's heavy in itself, because who is the word? Let's go to the book of John, the 1st chapter. John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The correct translation should be the Word was a God. The word God here does not mean the Most High. It means a power, right? A divine being. The angels are a God, a form of God. So is the Word, Yahushai, the Messiah, and so is the Most High, except he is the Most High God. So it says here, the same was in the beginning with God. But wait, if he was God, how would he have been with God? Anyway, all things were what? Were made by him. Who? The Word. And without him was not anything made that was made. And now let's jump down and find out who is the Word. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. So who was John testifying of? Yahushai, the Messiah. All right, there you go. Verse 17. For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Yahushai HaMashiach. He is that Word. So when you go back to Wisdom of Solomon, all things were made by thy word. Who is that word? Yahushai. And ordained man through thy wisdom, that he should have dominion over the creatures which thou hast made. Right. So the Lord appointed man to be at the head, right, the top of the the food chain, so to speak, and to have dominion, authority over all the creatures that were made, and ordered the world according to equity and righteousness, and execute judgment with an upright heart. So that was how the Lord ordained man to be, particularly the Adam, okay, the man of Israel, or the sons of God, because they were really the rulers. Right now, equity is basically like fairness, to put it, plainly. So he says he opens up, addresses the Lord, and then asks the Lord, give me wisdom that sitteth by thy throne, and reject me not from among thy children. So you see here that wisdom is also, the way he speaks about wisdom is also attributed or likened to Yahushai, because Yahushai is sitting at the right hand of the Father. It says here, and reject me not from among thy children, for I thy servant and son of thine handmaid am a feeble person. Right. So he's saying basically, I am your servant, right? The son of my mother, who is also your servant, because we're really all your servants. And he's saying here to the Lord, I'm a feeble person, right? And of a short time, just like all other of your creations, our life is but a short span, like a breath before your eyes. And also, as he's going to go into, I haven't really learned much, right? I'm still young, right? And too young for the understanding of judgment and laws. So I still have much to learn. For though a man be never so perfect among the children of men, that is Old English of saying, though a man be perfect, or he can be even looked at as perfect amongst the children of men, so amongst man on earth, yet if thy wisdom be not with him, he shall be nothing regarded. It doesn't matter how great in a worldly perspective a man is. If he doesn't have the wisdom of the Lord, he is regarded as nothing. thou hast chosen me to be a king over thy people and a judge of thy sons and daughters, because Solomon was, appointed or anointed to be king, and that was all set up by the Lord. Thou hast commanded me to build a temple upon thy holy mount, and an altar, the holy mount being Jerusalem, and an altar in the city wherein thou dwellest. Because remember, David wanted to do it, but the Lord told David, no, your son Solomon is going to be the one to do it. A resemblance of the holy tabernacle which thou hast prepared from the beginning. So the the temple that Solomon was going to build was going to be likened after the tabernacle that the Lord had Moses prepare, and that in itself was likened after the pattern what he saw in the heavens. And wisdom was with thee, which knoweth thy works, and was present when thou madest the world, and knew what was acceptable in thy sight, and right in thy commandments. Right, and that once again can also apply to Yahushai. And that's why I mentioned that in the previous chapter, that you see some of these traits that are mentioned concerning wisdom also apply to Yahushua, because he's really the embodiment of it. We get wisdom by the words of the Lord. The words of the Lord are in the book of the Lord. Yahushua said the book is written of him. He comes in the volume of the book. So it says here, and wisdom was with thee and knoweth thy works. So she has witnessed your works, right? Your secrets, and was present when thou madest the world. So that's why I forget which chapter it was, but it was either in the 8th chapter or the 7th chapter. Solomon mentioned that if a man desires, experience, she knoweth things of old concerning wisdom, and knew what was acceptable in thy sight, and right in thy commandments. So when you have wisdom, you can be pleasing to the Lord because you know what's pleasing to the Lord. Let's get a precept real quick here in Baruch chapter 4, verse 4. O Israel, happy are we, for things that are pleasing to God are made known unto us. You see? And so how do you become privy to the things that are pleasing to the Lord? Through, you guessed it, wisdom. Oh, send her out of thy holy heavens and from the throne of thy glory. Because Solomon knew and understood that you can't get wisdom anywhere else. So right now, what he's doing is he's seeking wisdom. He knows, okay, I know what I want. I want wisdom. I know how beneficial wisdom is. And I know I can't get wisdom anywhere else because it has to be given to me from the owner, the Most High. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to him and I'm going to pray and I'm going to ask him. Look, when you go to, if you need something and you know somebody has it, you go and you ask them, right? You go and inquire. Likewise, if you need wisdom and you know it belongs to the Lord and only he can give it, what do? You go and you ask the Lord. That's prayer. So that's what Solomon is doing here. Verse 10, O send her out of thy holy heavens and from the throne of thy glory, that being present she may labor with me, that I may know what is pleasing unto thee. Because what? Going up a verse, she knows what's pleasing to the Lord. She knows what's acceptable in his sight. So Solomon says, well, in order for me to be pleasing to you, I need wisdom. I need her to come and work with me so I can also know what's pleasing unto you. For she knoweth and understandeth all things, and she shall lead me soberly in my doings. And soberly is, if you compare somebody that's physically drunk versus somebody that's physically sober, what are the differences you'll see? The one that is sober can make better decisions, right? Their reflexes are, much faster. Their sense of judgment is more keen because they are sober. They're not influenced in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so being here when he mentions soberly, it means like to be keen or sharp in the mind, and that would be through wisdom, right? In my doings, and preserve me in her power. So shall my works be acceptable, and then shall I judge thy people righteously. So Solomon said, if I'm going to judge these people, I can't just do it. I need a means. and the means is wisdom. And I need to go and ask the one who has wisdom, who gives liberally, as James said. Let's go real quick to the book of James. I believe it might be first chapter. Yeah, James 1 and 5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not. Lord ain't gonna curse you out for asking him for wisdom. And it shall be given him. And that's what Solomon did. So shall my works be acceptable, and then shall I judge thy people righteously, and be worthy to sit in my Father's seat. See, that is to sit on the throne. For what man is he that can know the counsel of God, or who can think what the will of the Lord is? And this this pleased the Lord, because imagine if somebody asks you, hey, I have sheep and I need you to come and shepherd them. And you tell them, hey, I can do it and I'm more than willing to, but could you give me some, some resources that I can learn more about sheep with? Or I can, go to shepherd school or something to become a really good shepherd so that I can take very good care of your sheep. What do you think they're going to say? Given that it's appropriate, they're going to be more than, you know what? Yeah, definitely. Because it's like, wow, this person is not just trying to do the bare minimum here. They're trying to better themselves so they can do an even better job for me. Verse 14, for the thoughts of mortal men are miserable, and our devices are but uncertain. See, meaning like without wisdom, our mortal thoughts, they're miserable. They're of no hope. Our devices, our plans, are but uncertain. Because, the things that man thinks to do, he doesn't really have the power to do unless it's according to the will of the Lord. For the corruptible body, verse 15, presseth down the soul, and the and the earthy tabernacle weigheth down the mind that museth upon many things. The corruptible body and the earthy tabernacle is referring to your actual human body. Okay, so what Solomon is basically saying here is our mortal bodies limit us, right? When he mentions the corruptible body pressing down the soul, it limits you and weighs down our minds, all right? And it makes it hard for us to fully understand the higher things, because the mind, musing upon many things, it thinks and tries to reason upon many things. But there are certain limitations that the body places upon you that bring that down. And hardly do we guess aright at things that are upon earth. So we barely understand the things that are upon the earth as is. And with labor do we find the things that are before us, right? And we struggle just to even understand the things that we actually frequently use, all right, and associate with on the earth. But the things that are in heaven, who hath searched out? See, because on the earth, by experience, by trying certain things, you figure out certain things. But who's been to the heavens to search out those things and figure out the mechanics of that? And thy counsel, who hath known? Except thou give wisdom and send thy Holy Spirit from above. That's because wisdom knows. So unless you give us wisdom, we're not going to be able to know. For so the ways of them which lived on the earth were reformed. How? Through wisdom. So the ways of the men that lived on the earth were reformed. They were corrected according to wisdom. And men were taught the things that are pleasing unto thee, and were saved through wisdom. So you see why when the Lord gave us, for example, the law, statutes, and commandments, Moses said, this is your wisdom in the sight of the nations, because it came from heaven. And that brings us to the end of the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 9th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.